Warning: the Savage Nation contains adult language, adult content, psychological nudity. Listener discretion is advised. And now, America's most exciting radio talk show, The Savage Nation, home of borders, language, culture. And here he is, Michael Savage.
So Palin says impeach him, Buchanan says don't. Meanwhile, the rockets are flying on Tel Aviv. Look at the top of the Drudge Report. There's a picture that your hair will stand up. Rocket attacks on Tel Aviv. Meanwhile, the Iron Dome that the U.S. gave Israel has worked thus far. The people are hiding in public bomb shelters in Israel. The world is in pieces. Obama has shattered the world. You know, I wrote in one of my books that Obama is like a child who takes apart a watch and doesn't know how to put it back together again. I wish I could find the quote right now. I don't know which one of my most recent books it was. He reminded me of a smart child, or let's say a curious child, who takes watches apart or clocks apart and then can't put them back together again, but he keeps getting another watch and takes it apart, one after the other. I think it's a pretty fair analysis of what's going on. He took the Middle East apart. He can't put it back together again. He's torn America apart, and he can't put it back together again. He's wrecked our relationship with Russia, created a new Cold War, and I doubt very much whether our child president can put it back together again. Here it is. I got it. Author's note to the beginning of Trickle Up Poverty. I'll read it to you. President Obama is like a destructive child who takes apart a priceless watch that was carefully passed down to him. Without regard for the value of what he holds, he recklessly scatters the pieces on the floor and then can't put them back together again. Failing to learn from his mistakes, this destructive child moves on to another room where he finds another watch to take apart. Once again, he cannot put the pieces back together. That doesn't stop him from tearing apart yet another costly timepiece, until all that's left are the pieces of discarded, functionless watches lying at his feet. What's worse is that nobody steps in to stop him before he destroys again. I've been watching in stunned amazement as Obama the Destroyer systematically takes apart America, piece by piece, while the complicit fifth-column government media complex and the lapdog political leaders remain silent. Barack Hussein Obama is tearing down everything that was built before this man was even born. Look no further than the fundamental requirement to preserve America's borders and national security. Let me pause right there. That's the preface to a book I wrote 2 years ago. Everyone's on the bandwagon now. They've come a little too late to the rodeo. Look no further, I wrote, than the fundamental requirement to preserve America's borders and national security. And so you don't remember what he said, do you, in the cover of Darkness? On May 19th, 2010, Obama the Destroyer made this astonishing statement to the president of Mexico. It's in the front of the book. Front of my book, Trickle Up Poverty, the paperback edition. Here's what Obama said. In the 21st century, we are defined not by our borders, but by our bonds. Then I wrote, did you see what this petty dictator has done? With those 15 words, the traitor-in-chief effectively erased our borders and compromised our sovereignty. Didn't Obama take an oath to uphold our laws? Didn't he take an oath to defend our borders against all enemies, both domestic and foreign? Without clearly defined borders, anyone can waltz right into America. Without borders, there's no country. Now, that's interesting because in Sarah Palin's article, and she's going to be on Blondie's show later, she actually quotes me. She says, without borders, there is no nation. She, of course, doesn't quote me, but apparently her speechwriter read my book and ripped it off. Good. I'm glad they're finally reading Michael Savage. Look, without borders, there is no nation. That's in Sarah Palin's article. But look back 2 years, and you'll see what Obama wrote. Without borders, there's no country. So, as Lao Tzu wrote, it doesn't matter who rips you off as long as your ideas are getting out there. But that's before intellectual copyright laws were passed and before they had Danny the lawyer working for them. I'm just kidding. There's much more to be said. Much more to be said. Remember the stimulus money that disappeared? Remember all that was that $1 trillion that disappeared? $819 billion porculus bill called the stimulus bill. Well, now he wants $4 more billion, allegedly for the children, the poor children who are being brought in by the plane load, by the bus load, by the mule back. He wants $4 billion for the children. How much of that do you think will reach his backers' pockets? Those who provide food, clothing, shelter, medical, legal, dental, you name it. How many people are going to line their pockets with this $4 billion? I wouldn't give them 10 cents. I would insist the Republicans say no and don't vote and don't let him have that money, because then he'll have to send them back. Oh, let him blame the Republicans, say they mean it doesn't matter. He's going to do it anyway. But the issue is impeachment. Palin says yes, Buchanan says no. So I'm asking you, should Republicans impeach Obama? You know, it's funny, the poll is right now up on the Drudge Report. Yes, 68%, no says 14%, not now say 17%. That's interesting. Very interesting. Meanwhile, Israel's calling up 40,000 troops as tensions mount. 40,000 troops getting ready for an invasion of Gaza. And the band played on. Israel soldiers work on their tanks at a gathering area in the Israel-Gaza border, July 8th, 2014. They're getting ready. They're going to do it. It's going to be a counteroffensive. They're going to take it. They're going to clean it out. They're going to clean the clock finally. They had enough of Ashkelon being rocketed. I was in Ashkelon many years ago, and the historic meaning of Ashkelon is quite significant. It's where where Samson was tortured in the Roman arena. I believe it was Ashkelon. It's where he brought the temple down upon the Romans as they sat and stuffed their faces while watching people being thrown to the lions. Pretty sure that's where Ashkelon is. Boy, oh boy, I don't know, those Bible readers out there must have a lot of sleepless nights right now. 40,000 troops. 40,000 troops. 40,000 troops. A world that's blowing up in front of our eyes. How long can you justify this man? How long can you say it's not his fault? The man burst our borders open and won't even go to the border. The man wrecked the Middle East and won't go to the Middle East. The man wrecked our relationship with Russia, creating a new Cold War, and you justify everything he's done? What does he have to do till you realize that he's either incompetent or evil? What would he have to do? The answer is there's nothing he can do. I've come to the conclusion that he could imprison 10,000 Americans who oppose him on a pretext that it's for their own safety or it's for the national security, and you would say nothing. I'm pretty sure that the liberal would cheer it. That's how sick they've become. That's how narcissistic and sick they become. The old statement that I may disagree with what you say, but I would die for your right to say it has long died in this country. I knew it died when I had been banned from entering England in 2009, and no liberals came to my defense. None. Not one of them. They're all phonies. The next time you hear a liberal say they're a liberal, tell them they're a phony. There are no liberals left in America. There are no liberals. There are only left-wing fascists.